Hey friends, you are with Kim Byers at the Celebration Shop, and today we are going to make fans for a wedding ceremony. So my beautiful cousin got married last weekend, and she had the most darling fans, like paper fans that you could use while you were waiting, you know, for the bridal party and everybody to come down the aisle. And it was much needed. To say it was like 92 degrees, the wedding was outside. It was gorgeous, but the fans were a must. And even if you're having your reception in like a small church venue or something like that, these fans are perfect because you get all those bodies into one room and then everything just gets really warm, right? So what I have done is I've designed these fans for you, and you can personalize them in Cricut with Cricut Design Space, and then you're going to cut them out, print then cut them with your Martha Stewart Edition Cricut Explorer Air 2. So I'm going to also show you some of the materials that you can use. You can just make these in a million different colors. They're really beautiful, and I think you'll really enjoy them. So let's hop over to the craft table and let me show you what it's all about. Okay, so we are in Cricut Design Space, and I have pulled in my design, and so I want to tell you guys a couple of things. Okay, so for one, this design is available to you without the text. I did leave on to Heaven to Hold from this day forward. It's in the description of this video. You can just hop down and grab that, personalize it, and make it your own. But I wanted to show you a couple things about uploading the design. So if you see this here, this is the design that I'm giving you in the form of a PNG. And then this back piece is actually cardstock. I'm going to be using Martha Stewart Cricut cardstock. It's a beautiful cardstock. Okay, so what you do is you're going to go over to upload. And because I've already uploaded, when this pops up, you're going to be able to see that I already have it in there. And these are some other projects I'm working on, so make sure you catch those videos too. So I have uploaded the design here, blank. And then I've also uploaded the shape as well. And you're going to want that shape because you want your cardstock to match the shape of your print then cut. So I want to just show this to you super quick though. So if you go to your computer and you browse and you pick up the design that I am giving to you, it's going to bring it in and it's going to look like this. You want to hit complex because you want all the detail of the design. Whenever I did, I played around with simple and moderate, and it looked fuzzy to me. So we're going to go with complex. And then when you bring it in, you'll be able to see that it's high res. It looks really good. Okay, so we'll hit continue. And at this point, you're going to see that you can either do just the shape or you can do the design. I want you to do this twice. First bring in your design and then go back and do that a second time and bring in your shape so that you have that matching scallop, okay? Okay, so now you just want to grab that blank, and then you want to grab the shape, and you bring both of those images into, okay, and look, wow, they're really big, which is fantastic, right? Because it's high res. But what you're going to want to do is for print then cut, you're only going to be able to do, I think it's 6.5 inches wide, because remember, this has to go through your printer, and you're using 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So what we're going to do is we're going to minimize or reduce the size of both of those. So let's go with, we could go with 5 for the designed element, and then for the shape, we could go with 6. And it really just depends on how large you want your fan to be, right? Okay. See? And then you can change this to any colors that you want for your wedding. So for fonts, there are so many different choices. Just select text. There's a few that I've already identified that I think are kind of close to what I used. So Aphrodite Pro is actually kind of close to what I did here for July 3rd for the date. So if you wanted to do July 3rd, okay. So then what you do is when you select this font, you go up to Advanced and you ungroup those letters. And then I like to make my map very big so that I can really see, and keeping them all on the same line, and you can connect them. Thinking the Y might just have to stay separate. Okay, then what you can do is if you select all of this, because you do have the U and the L connecting, if you select weld, it will cut those two pieces, those two elements as one item. Or if all of this was connected, if July was totally connected, it would cut all of it at one time. Now, since this is printed, you don't necessarily have to worry about that, but I still like to do that process. Okay, so now we have our date. Let's go back up. And all you do is you place it and then, you know, reduce it to the size that you want it to be. A little bit smaller. And I've left my example over to the side so you can somewhat see what would probably work. Make it a little bigger so you can see. Just reduce it to the size you want it to be, and then do the same for your lettering. And I was looking at fonts, and I think something that's very similar to what I have here is Alexis. Let's see if I can find it really quick. There it is. Okay, so then for Ellen, oops, which by the way is my grandmother's name, and Lee, oh, and I misspelled it, and Lee was my grandfather, so. Okay, so then you would do that same thing with your lettering here. Just go up and hit advanced, ungroup them, and move them together and put them into place. But choose any font that works best for whatever style you're working with. Then, so if you just select your lettering, July 3rd, or Ellen or Lee, whatever you have up in here, July 3rd, and you go over to fill and you just hit print. Do you see how it turns it? Looks much better, right? It's not as chunky. It's chunkier because because the machine thinks you're going to cut it. Now that it knows you're just going to print it, so now it's part of this element. And then whenever you get everything in place how you want it, you're going to attach them. Okay, so then it's going to print it as one piece. One other quick thing I wanted to show you before we move on is that you can change the color. So let's detach those really quick. So your July 3rd, if you wanted it to be purple, or you wanted it to be whatever, purple, there's different colors here in the palette, or you could hit advanced and go down and pick anything you want. But if you wanted it to be that color, you could do that, and then you would just select it to be print, and then you would select those two items to be attached. So then it would print onto the element as a color, and then of course if you wanted to use purple or whatever is your background cardstock, see how you can make this all your own. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop over to cutting this and moving over to the craft table. I changed my mind and I went and changed the font colors on my fan. So let's go ahead and select Make It. I want to show you guys how this works with your printer. Okay, so it brings it up and it's going to have this black box around it. This is a bounding box. And so it's going to, your Cricut's going to actually read this once you've printed it. So you just go ahead and print, and then let's go ahead and we'll just do continue. And it's connecting to my Martha Stewart edition Cricut Explorer Air 2. And then we just hit send to printer, and it's just like normal printing. You put the cardstock on your or in your printer and you print it, and then once it's done, we'll put it on the mat and we'll send it through the Cricut, and it will read that bounding box and it will print out the scallop perfectly. And oh, I always do add bleed. I always keep my bleed. So I've printed my design and I've loaded my mat, and now it's reading the bounding box. And once it's read all of the edges, then it'll start to cut out the scallop. Okay, and see, and there's the cut. Perfect scallop. So I've gotten both of the elements cut out. So this is what the scalloped fan piece would be. And then I wanted to match that with some really pretty cardstock. So this is the Mint and Blush Martha Stewart edition of Cricut cardstock. So I'm loving the mint. I also like this this vibrant pink. You know, there are several different stacks that you can use. She's got a ton of them available at Michaels stores, and you know, matching them to your wedding colors should not be hard because there are a number of these sets available. Okay, so now I've cut out the background. So it's gonna lay on top like that. We're just gonna use glue dots to put it into place. And then once we've got, you can use them all around the edges, or you can just center one. I think one to two probably works perfectly fine. And then I've got these wavy sticks. These are like little paddles. Think of them like big ice cream spoons, like the old ice cream spoons you would get from little soda shops. These are available at your craft store for just a couple of dollars. And so then we're going to use hot glue. Just run a bead of hot glue. And you want to attach it all the way up and down because you don't want it to flop on either end. Make sure that it's centered. Press it down. And there you have a little paddle fan. How cute. Okay, so if you liked what I did here today, I hope you'll hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. Don't forget to hop down below and grab the files to make these fans for yourself. And don't forget, you can personalize everything right in Cricut Design Space, so you can make them any color you want, any language that you want. And I hope that you love them, and I hope you'll leave me a comment. Ask me any questions, just leave them in the comments down below, and I'll do my very best to help you. And don't forget, the Cricut Martha Stewart edition is available at Michaels. So I hope you will go over and give that a look. And you guys have a great week. I'll see you next time.